let me say it like this, right? I don't know what's true and what's not true. I don't know who, and who not who. What's true and what's not true. Some people saying red is blue and blue is yellow and yellow is green. But if this is true, I don't like the direction that the world is going there collectively. Yeah, I don't like it. It bothering me. So now, well, let me let Candace and Tucker get into this a little
Grateful that you're here. Thank you.
I'm so excited.
With child number 4 in tow, who's just off camera. What is going on with Macron?
I mean, it's the craziest thing that's ever happened, certainly in my life. It's been repeatedly crazy, from the Trump call to...
Let me say that. A lot of you chicks out there be hating on Candace, but y'all can't fuck with Candace. You can't hold the candle to Candace, okay? And I feel like Candace getting just more, beautiful and attractive and sexier just as she have kids and grow up, man. Candace starting to be a cooker a little bit, man. I don't care what they say.
The lawsuit. I didn't even know.
Can you just back up a little bit for those who don't know what you're referring to, the Trump call? What does that mean?
So I was called by Trump in February. Emmanuel Macron had visited Trump, and I had done this series about, it was about his wife, Brigitte Macron. And the series got a lot of views, and Emmanuel Macron personally flew to D.C. and
Let me catch y'all up in case y'all really don't know. Y'all know Emmanuel Macron. Y'all know this is the prime minister, president of France, whatever they call it, right? The French president. Now, he may or may not be married to a male who transgendered into a female, but there is no transgender, if you understand what I'm saying.
What's wrong with you? What's wrong with you? What's wrong with you?
What's
wrong with y'all? You niggas are crazy.
What are you talking about? What I'm saying is, he might be married to a dude that transgendered to a female but never said nothing. Nobody know. Saying like, nah, I always been this way. Nah, I always been. However, this same dude that he married to, that might the same wife, was like 30 years older than him, and started rocking with him when he was like 14 years old, and he or she was his teacher. He was 14 years old, and this was his teacher, who may be a dude that transitioned to a woman but never told him. It's deep. Yeah. Y'all got a lot to say about our presidents running around here. I got a lot to say about the commander-in-chief Trump and everything else going on. Hold on, wait. What direction are we headed in this world?
and asked Trump to ask me to shut up, to just stop speaking about his wife. And
Did you know this was going to rise to the level of international incident?
No. And it's actually making me go back, and historically I'm thinking, you know, all the times we were told that a war ended because of this or because of that. If this was one element of negotiation of Emmanuel Macron to Trump, and the topic of why he was, you know, ostensibly there was to discuss the end of the Ukrainian and Russian war, but you're taking Trump aside and you're asking him to shut up this podcaster in the U.S., I'm wondering if anything that we're told in our history books is real.
So That is exactly right. I have wondered the same. That is just absolutely amazing.
All right, let's get past Tucker intro. We don't want no whistle
A suit against him until recently, at the same time as mine. They're not suing him for defamation, even though he's the author of the book that I based my entire series on. They are instead suing him.
What she was saying right there is, look, because they suing Candace for pushing this right now. But somebody else wrote a book, they not suing him. Yo, listen, it's very, 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 very deep.
For cyberbullying.
Cyberbullying?
Okay, if there's one AI site builder you need to meet, it's this dope tech from Wix.
A head of state?
You can do that
I
in
should
Europe.
just say, because it's true, that the French intelligence services, everyone makes fun of France as incompetent and weak, but their intel services are not incompetent or weak. And after probably CIA, Mossad, maybe the Russian intel services, like, they are feared.
And they should be feared.
They are feared. They are feared. That they're very competent. They're violent. Documented. They've killed people, and they're nothing to play with, really.
Right. That's why he picked up his family and he moved.
I get it.
And so it was this tremendous act of bravery that he did this. You know, putting not just his life on the line, but the life of his wife and his children, because the story here was so demented and so twisted. And just also the broader consideration that you could have an entire state colluding to protect a secret of that magnitude. And what's so compelling about this story, and I get into this in the first episode of Becoming Brigitte, is that by the time it made its way to the English-speaking world, people thought that this was like a, as always, far-right conspiracy dug up from the trenches of Reddit. And that's not what happened at all. The story begins with Emmanuel Macron and his wife is actually the journalists, the left-leaning journalists, the Condé Nast journalists, who wanted to celebrate Brigitte, wanted to do documentaries on Brigitte. This wonderful woman is now empowered, and what is she going to do? And they were kind of getting threatened. They were told to come to the Élysée Palace, and there was only one person that they could talk to. They couldn't find or verify anything about Brigitte's history or Brigitte's past, and they sort of.
So pay attention. Remember this. We in an era where you ain't about to duck and hide much unless you got extreme power. And if you do got that kind of power, why are you erasing your entire childhood? Why are you erasing your entire backstory? And you in the public service. You in the public service sector. The president, the politicians, these are public servants.
Fell down the hole and were like, I don't know why I suddenly feel like I've done something wrong for asking basic questions about the First Lady of France. And so that's kind of where the series begins, and it kind of takes you through what they went through and what many people have gone through since, just trying to learn anything about the First Lady.
So to be clear, it's an amazing story. And for so many reasons,
This
but
is truly
for the one that you
amazing
just
story.
described, that this was actually well known in France. It all took place in public, but I don't think 1 in a million Americans had any idea at all until your series came out. And the initial reaction to your series was, well, that now we know Candace is insane, like really going off the deep end. Wife's a man, come on now. And then
bro, for real, right?
It became one of the biggest podcast series in the country, and sort of sober people were saying, actually, you should listen to this. This is pretty wild, pretty compelling. But I just want to get to the lawsuit. So, like, they're suing you for defamation.
For things that I never said, which is they know that this lawsuit, this is why I called it a PR strategy. This lawsuit was filed for the press, right? Because she just lost her defamation case against 2 journalists in France. And now everyone was reporting, wait, you said that this was the big case that proved, or you presented it as if you were suing them on this claim of you being a man or a woman. And now you've lost that in France. This is your home territory. What's going on? And so I think she called the lawyers and were like, just file a lawsuit, because it's very sloppy. The points run into one another. Like, first they argue that I'm doing it for money. Then they make the argument that I was fired for speaking about it. So that doesn't make any sense. It can't be both. And it's a bunch of stuff that I didn't say. They're behaving like mainstream journalists, where they'll take a couple of words that I said, like gangster, criminal and gangster, but then they add their own sentence to it. And they're like, she accused her of being a criminal and a gangster. So it's very sloppy. And what they're doing is they're just biding their time. They don't want the world to look, which this was a very bad mistake, a very bad way to go about it, but they want the world to believe that she has a claim against me, that we're suing, therefore, because this podcaster lied. But it's way too late. I mean, it's everyone is aware of what's happened. This only made the series go viral. Now it's going viral in Asia. You know, I'm getting all of these emails from people in China saying the series
Candace,
is going
watch
viral.
yourself,
They're not even
girl.
on YouTube, so I don't know how they're watching it in China. But it was a mistake because obviously now people are going, okay, something must be true. You know, a president of a...
And let me say this, right? For them to come out and just say, hey, man, hey, look. My wife is a dude that transgender. Alright, that's what it is. That's it. It is what it is. I'm the president. I'm in control. Watch me do a good job. Watch me be the greatest and bestest president France ever had. Don't worry about what's going on in my bedroom, my personal life. I'm y'all commander-in-chief. I got this shit. No need to worry. You do that, right?
A foreign country does not sue a mom that does her podcast in her basement because she spoke something that was not true. Like, there's clearly something that they want hidden, and so everyone's taking a closer look at the series.
Yeah, that's not the way to hide things.
Right.
The way to hide things is say, poor Candace, nice woman, obviously mentally ill. Mm-hmm. You know, come on now. Mm-hmm. That's the way to do it, and sophisticated liars do that.
Right.
So it is interesting. They're responding in a way that clearly is driven by emotion.
Right.
And fear. I mean, that's my read. I don't really know why they're responding, of course, but looking at it, it's so interesting. You may have noticed this is a great country with bad food.
Come on, Tucker.
Pass it.
Reaction is, for the people that are incensed by the fact that you're presenting that truth, is I'll impoverish you.
Yeah.
And I've seen this over and over again. It's like, okay, she told the truth, but our response to that is going to be demands that she get fired.
Yeah,
right?
that's
she
what they
should lose
do.
her
You know the canceling
livelihood
thing?
for speaking the truth. She should lose, and that's why
Yeah, man,
Jake
they usually
Tapper.
want to tear your head off, man. Destroy your life if you start telling the truth.
But he sits down with Tom Clare, who is a lawyer on this case, and Jake Tapper is doing the absolute most to make this just the easiest interview for Tom Clare. He's sitting across from him, and he's like, she's deranged, and she's crazy, and she's a conspiracy theorist. So much so.
Jake Tapper said that.
Jake Tapper, but so much so that people in the comments were like, nah, I want to watch the series. His own viewers thought this was just so over the top. But then he turns to Tom Clare and he asks him like a basic question. He's like, you know, what evidence did you present to her that Brigitte's a man? And Tom Clare can't answer the question. He's like, there was you can read the claims. It's extensive, and we told her that she was a woman. They never presented any evidence. We went to them before we published the series. We were in touch with Tom Clare of Clare and Locke. We sent them a list of questions. We said, look, we won't even do this series if you answer these basic circle yes or no questions. Was Brigitte Macron, the first lady, born a woman? I mean, that basic of questions. Did she ever live as a person named Veronique before the transition? Temporarily, Brigitte lived as a person named Veronique. They refused to answer these yes or no questions. Obviously, if you're going to prove actual malice, you have to present to the court, which is obviously a very high bar.
If you gonna say I'm slandering you, you gotta prove, man, that I'm lying, and I'm creating stories, that I'm making things up, don't you?
That's been set, which I don't necessarily even agree with that bar, by the way, New York Times versus Sullivan set. But obviously you have to prove that I acted, and I knew the truth, and I acted.
That's exactly right.
I was desperate to get to the truth and said I would stop doing this series. We also offered for me to get on a plane and fly to France to interview, to get Brigitte's side of this. I want to make sure I'm not colored by having read Becoming Brigitte and reading the series. There could be another side. And it was essentially a big F you, and said Tom Clare comes back. She doesn't have to answer your question. She doesn't have to prove to you.
So they retained Tom Clare and Libby Locke then, or Tom Clare. So Tom Clare and Libby Locke.
And look, right? So like I was saying, bro, I think our black president Obama was I think Obama is bisexual. I think he's bisexual, right? I don't got an issue with that. I don't got an issue with whoever want to, but I got an issue with not necessarily being forthcoming with things. That's not the job where some jobs you can't take and get the high and particular kind of shit. But some people might be like, this is wild. If this is your first time hearing about this, you probably like, what? Wait, bro, what the fuck was it? Hold on. But when you got things, see, and this is why I'll be like, yo, hold on. So, yeah, the first lady of France might not be a first lady, might not have been a lady at first, but wait. It get deeper. And there's something else there that make me be like, yeah, there's something real weird going on here.
Are married, second marriage for him. But I know them, and they have a law firm, I believe, in suburban DC and Virginia, and that specializes in making people shut up through intimidation. Mm-hmm. They tried it with me, and in a really brutal, cruel way, I would say, to try and just scare you into shutting up. So that itself, I don't think anyone regards Tom Clare as a good lawyer at all. But certainly, you know, his behavior is designed to intimidate you. So the fact that they hired them at the outset, that's the behavior of someone who just like wants to scare you into shutting up.
Mm-hmm. And the timing of when they first sent us a letter was actually December of last year. Sorry, the end of November of last year. We missed the letter because they sent it to an inbox that we would have never been checking. It was a very weird inbox, like where you would go to return a t-shirt. And because we missed that, and I'm glad I missed it because I probably would have been scared. I